involving the whole Evelyn situation. Um, Bumping into some lesser demons and the like, you were able to sort of weasel your way into meeting Dispater, the ruler of the city of Dis, and upon your conversation, things more or less were decided that you guys were not going to involve yourselves at all with this whole Evelyn thing, and we're kind of like absconding that whole deal. However, shoot, the deal, the what was the? I know the deal. His side was the whole drop off this like artifact to said temple, but I don't remember your guys' side of the deal.
We were to drop off an amulet to his like cultist temple, and then on his side he would do all his best
Oh,
to free
that's
Evelyn
right.
and then also keep her out of our business.
That's right. That's right. Um, with all that being done, you were able to transport this artifact and hand it over to a peer. Like it straight up was like some sort of cultist den. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's drinking the Kool Aid. And we left off with you guys traveling back to Winshire, and another a big part of the session was kind of Cassandra's sort of coming outness of her vampiric disease, and that's kind of been oh my god, that's kind of been talked about to some degree with a couple members of the party, and we'll say on the last day, you'll be rolling up on Winshire just after the sun had risen. So we'll say it's like 8 or so o'clock in the morning, and at the moment, you can see that there are quite a number of farmers that have already started working to their fields, doing all the sorts of whatnots farmers do with their scythes and whatnot. Uh, you can see there are some. It looks to be like some sort of like I don't know. It's a wagon being pulled that has a bunch of like tools and whatnot and supplies going over to what seems to be some sort of like accident with some sort of broken like infrastructure as you guys start rolling into town. And like now that the Graveborn have had enough time to sort of like be a society, they have quelled some of the like tendencies to want to wail or scream or cry, much like their ancestors once did. Um, but it's gotten to the point where like you'll still hear it walking around town, but it's not like a cacophony type of like evil sounding place, I guess. And I'll toss it to you guys. What would you like to do?
Are we? How are we walking up? Are we like? Did we pay for like a wagon to take us there, or are we just walking? Or
Yeah, I think it's fair to assume you guys made a little bit of a trek on foot.
I would say that Cassandra has been trekking in the woods line next to them, um, and she looks rather irritated. She's got like twigs in her hair, and her clothes are all dirty as she's just trying to make it to Windover.
Windover
When
to get some of those slots.
you get it,
Winshire.
Winchester. Thank you.
um, so as you sort of like make your way back into the city, you guys can see a sort of a tempered Cassandra with some twigs in her hair coming up to y'all. seeming a little bit in distress.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
Everything okay?
I was just reiterating what Cassandra said as she came up to the party.
Is everything okay, buddy?
No, everything is not okay. I've been trekking in the same clothes for a week. Through the brushels and woods, hiding like a rat. I need a good drink, and I need a hot.
I could agree with you there. A hot bath would do good.
I don't know if a hot bath is going to hit the same as it did in the Nine Hells. Friend.
Now that's the truth.
But luckily for us, I made sure to get some of that sweet champagne. The
Yeah.
That's right. What
Yeah,
is it called?
what do we call it?
MVP.
Lavul.
Leava.
Leava.
Yeah.
Do we each get our own bottle?
Well, I wanted it to last.
I love it.
Yeah.
We'll see. I only got the one case, so I don't want to go through the entire case in a single night. But
She like sighs and rolls her eyes as she storms off to find her squire.
I think I will mosey about to see if I can find something to help us get around. Maybe Raiden would know. You said he helped y'all travel around before.
Well, to be honest, wherever we end up deciding to go, we need to bring Hendrickson. He needs a squire.
So is it for Hendrickson to find a squire?
That's how I did it. That's how I recommend doing it.
Cool. We'll get to watch him do that full circle.
I just also want to clarify on a meta level. As far as like transportation goes, you might be a little hard pressed to find something like that in Winshire. Not just because it's like a new sort of flourishing town, but there aren't like a lot of the people that like would potentially make wagons, for example, are like working on the castle and things like that. So like as far as like transportation goes, yeah, you might not be able to find that kind of thing here.
Well, I have Cassandra has that war wagon.
That's true. I don't know if it could fit the entire party though, right?
Well, you take turns, you know. Two to three people could
Right.
sit up front. 2 to 3 people could actually sit in the actual wagon living area.
Right. Yeah. That's
My
that's...
brain.
Go ahead.
Oh, keep going.
No, go for it.
Okay. My brain is doing that thing where it gets fuzzy, and a thing happens. I think you call it an idiom, and something. Anyways, I hear they have flying boats in a city to the north. We could get a flying boat.
Does our group
Hey.
know anything about Collinsburg?
Make a history check.
Yeah, one of my characters.
Yeah, I
knows.
kind of made the leap just because I ventured.
There's some interesting lore with that town in one of my previous characters.
yeah, we're also closing in on like most of the party having at least some form of a mount. So
Yeah. Yes. That's been intentional.
Yeah, I don't have a mount. I just kind of run
Well,
and
I
jump
know.
like Hulk or something.
Okay, so
You
what
throw
were the
your
history checks?
cannonball and sit on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Oh my
Instead of
God.
pulling it back to me, I pull myself to it or something.
Yeah, what the heck, dude? That's such a weird visual because you're so big, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, history checks, what were they?
10.
10? If you wanted to, yeah, if you want to know, if you think you know anything about
I
Colin.
have 19.
12.
It's a 14 for Mhox.
Okay.
Nine for Fia.
Okay. So, Via, I'll say for you, you don't really know much about Collinsburg. You do know that it's kind of like looked at as like a revolutionary type of place as far as like technology goes in a certain way. The only things that you've really dealt with in Collinsburg is you've dealt with contacts, but you've never gone within the city itself. For everyone else, Collinsburg is like the arm of the Empire in a certain way, at least as the Warfront goes. They are very much known for like their steam powered sort of like mechanic type of stuff, you know what I mean? And also with like their airships and whatnot, they have like a whole entire fleet, essentially like the fucking Fire Nation, you know what I'm saying? As well as like the quality of life is like a lot higher in Collinsburg compared to a lot of like the other even well-off towns within the Empire. It's kind of like, you know, a lot of money goes through there because of the war at the moment, and so there's been a like kind of like a boom ever since the war started in Collinsburg.
Oh, well, if we were wanting something that could not only benefit us but benefit the town, we could go to Collinsburg. It's quite a journey, but it's directly north of us.
I'm all for it.
I don't see why not, unless we have some other looming threat. It
Well,
sounds like
that's the thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, it seems like we have a little bit of downtime to build up Winshire.
Clarissa, we have just finished the recap, and we just rolled up into town, into Winshire. Everybody's kind of just like, you know, discussing.
Perfect. Keep discussing. I will listen. I need a couple of seconds just to like get my character sheet and everything up and running.
That's fine. At this point, Cassandra, if you want to have returned with your, do you plan on coming back, or are you just going to go find your guy?
Yeah, we'll come back with
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you by the time you get back, you see Engless comes around the corner as if he just manifested himself back into the narrative. It's like in the cartoons, like he walks behind a pole that should have revealed his form, but it didn't. You know what I mean? Anyways, so yeah, the party right now is discussing as you guys both show up, Cassandra and Endless. The party is potentially having a conversation about potentially going to Collinsburg.
Oh, Collinsburg. Is that the next stop on our little trio?
Well, I don't think it'd be a bad idea. I do think we need to spend more time here to quicken renovations. Because
To be fair, you did just come out of a like 6-month period or something like that.
right.
I mean, putting a bunch of work towards like the whole thing. So like, technically, there's still work to be done, but you know.
But I feel that we could benefit our town even more by providing additional resources throughout the continent. Collinsburg is known for their industrial boon, if that's how you want to call it.
Huh?
In
Is
addition,
it a-
Oh,
In
Is it a
addition,
big? Okay.
acquiring one of these airships would probably expedite seeking and ending your sire as far as your own personal quest was concerned.
Yes, I agree with that, but I am more thinking about the ideas of a warship being more useful for commerce. We have so much food and crops and this special material that we have here that some of the other towns may not. We need a reliable income for our town aside just from a couple of our businesses. We need to be able to raise this city properly so more than just Graveborn can live here.
Interesting. Then we're gonna need to have drivers and wagons to do the shipments.
Meta-wise, for Winshire, I know we have agricultural trade. That's about the only thing we have. As for like goods, because the Greyborn don't necessarily need to eat much.
Yeah, I'll say like I don't remember in their thing on the actual like stat block stuff like if they were required to eat or not. But like
They're
they,
not when
that
we homebrewed it.
okay, that's what I thought. So like I'll say like they can eat and it's not like vampires where it just doesn't like taste good to them, you know what I mean? Like they I'll say like if they do eat, they'll have like a smaller appetite because they don't technically need to eat for nourishment. So like, yeah, I'll say
Yeah.
with that being said, you do kind of have a surplus of like crops. You know what I mean? And because of your magically growing fields, you could technically grow them all year. So like, there's definitely going to be that's probably at the moment your biggest and only way to make money as a town.
Aside from crops and that's concerned, I really the only other specialities that our town provides is our smithing ability. We take hand in creating uh, the mobile vehicles for the Urim Empire, as well as well as medical expertise. But as far as that goes, I think that's about all we have.
I mean, I could possibly. I don't know. If you give me a nice enough building, I could set up maybe a swordsman school.
That'd be cool.
Swordsman school.
And I can start up a artillery division as he kind of just hurls his rock in a random direction.
You just hear oh way off like half a block
Sorry.
down.
Sorry.
Endless Zafriel, with how much time we spend in Winshire, have we considered setting up a division of the Standing Bear permanently here as its own entity?
A
There is,
second HQ?
as far as
Or the
another,
bean.
as far as another headquarters go, that is not a bad idea. We are currently building a militia that would be a part of that, but
Do you have we have a member that can, raise stone and help build things quicker?
potentially, to be honest, I've been pretty hands off with the whole experience. It's been Hendrickson. We'll have to talk with him.
Again, meta-wise, for the HQ thing, part of the whole castle thing for Raiden, he set aside a massive part of it just for the Standing Bear, like a war room,
Yeah.
nice rooms, kind of like in the tower, but in a castle, and he's like expanded on a like equipment room, smithy, all that.
So we'll just call the HQ to be what's the word? To be determined, yeah. But yeah, technically
Yeah.
it started, so yeah. You're right.
Well, these are all great things to keep in mind to make sure that our town thrives in the future. But as of right now, the only pressing threat to the plane itself is the war that's going on. We've done assistance for Urim, And to be honest, I know very little about the other side. But if we're trying to protect this realm, that's the next biggest threat.
Oh, Lord, you say. And which side are we playing on? Are we trying to be a third party as she kind of looks around? Because, to be fair, we would be squished.
It's not my call anymore.
Oh, yeah. So she, like, kind of looks at Engless. Well, I need to speak to whoever the king is around here about me getting some land.
Well, we could bring. It's been a while since we've talked to a friend.
We're going to bring Raiden into the conversation. Is that what you're alluding to?
Yeah. Let's go have a conference with King Raiden.
Sure.
Does everybody want to do that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Okay, so we'll say Raiden is currently sitting on his throne, which is also kind of incomplete still, but at least it's like in place and there for him to. Anyways, and he's in the middle of like reading some sort of like scroll that like has rolled up quite a bunch that he's already read, and it goes down to the floor and then goes down the little step that goes up to the throne, and you just see him like shaking his like skull head. Raiden, you feel like that stress fracture crack that you got while adventuring just starts to like irritate yourself, and you kind of get a skeleton migraine. So you decide
Yeah.
it's time to put down the scroll.
He slowly rolls it up.
Which takes
Which
at least
takes, like,
35
forever.
seconds. Yeah, you like
Yeah, it
like
takes a
they've
good
already
while.
approached you, and you like are still kind of like trying to hurry to roll it up.
Yeah, it's comedic because they're like waiting, and he's slowly just rolling it up.
Yeah, and it's like when you drop the paper towel roll. You like if you go to roll back up again, it's not as like fit and tight
Yeah.
as it should be.
Cassandra-
Anyways,
Cassandra,
Oh, sure.
kind of watching this happen, kind of looks at her glowing bright blue eyes kind of dart back and forth before she kind of gently like pushes Engless a step forward.
God damn it. That was on me. Sorry, I'm still just kind of like getting my bearings on everything. Raiden, my friend, good to see you. Hopefully you've been doing well.
Yes, well, I wouldn't say old, but my great friends and trusted advisors. What can I do?
I bow.
English will
My friend,
also
you
mimic
do not
and-
bow before me.
Cassandra
Mia was about to curtsy, and then as he says not to, I'm like, and I guess I stop awkwardly.
Everybody else would bow, but I've traveled with you too far and too long to let my friends have to bow before me.
Cassandra does, since she doesn't really know you. She does a curtsy.
Raiden, we've had quite the experience.
Oh yes, how was hell?
I never want to go back.
I bet.
But we did get to speak with a pretty interesting character.
Endless, go ahead. You're going to say something.
He was just gonna make the comment of like, I didn't think it was a bad place. Nice and warm.
Wait, whatever happened to that one other pet we had? Did we just leave him cuffed somewhere? Oh well.
I thought we
Wait,
sold them
what
into
pet are you
slavery.
talking about?
There
we
was-
sold 2 of them. We had 1 more.
Didn't we
Yeah,
give
we
it to
never-
Dis?
Yeah, what
Dis-
happened to our bone devil?
Didn't we give it to Dispater?
We gave
No,
2 of them.
We never did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's just
we kept one.
he's just still cuffed, vulnerable around a whole bunch of non-vulnerable people.
we'll touch on him later. See how he's doing.
Yeah, he's now the strat in our campaign from Ice
Yeah.
Age.
It's like when Billy and Mandy leave Irwin hanging in the hole from the episode.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it shows him at the end of the credits. Anyways.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So, anyways, English, you were saying.
Well, we've come here today to discuss something with you. Something
Oh.
along the lines of possibly setting up another headquarters.
Well, plans have already been made for that. I know that the tower in Urim was the original, but I hope you find once the castle's built, this could be a better HQ. Trust me, I plan to eventually have the finest silks and feather pillows.
One other thing I wanted to mention, Raiden, is now that we are an established town and recognized throughout Urim as our own territory here, we need to decide what our part in the war is. So if we don't, it could cause issues in the future.
Yes, I've been thinking on that. We aren't very militaristically fortified yet. The wall that we were building was unfortunately has been halted due to late Troxy being not with us right now. However, I know there's plans to find her new reincarnation at this point. But I've been pondering on that. We aren't formally recognized as our own kingdom. We are still under the Urim Empire. Though I don't believe they'll accept an undead kingdom. So we're in a tough spot to where we need to fortify first.
Are you trying to suggest that the end goal would to be recognized as our own section of the continent? As our own
A sovereign nation,
sovereign nation?
for short.
You
Neutral
know,
party, if you would.
Your Highness, if you would allow it to get me some property, I could bring the Warthrone family name into your kingdom, which does carry quite a weight in swordsmanship.
Well, we are lacking in noble courts. I would and have already established you all as nobles among my kingdom, though your names have not been spread far and wide as of yet. So I am open to another one joining, and you clearly seem trusted among the group. So I
Yeah,
have no quarrel with it.
and I would be opening a swordsman school.
We are severely lacking in that. I know Hendrickson has been hard at work, him and all, and whoever else has been, I guess, experienced in swordsmanship have been trying their best to form up our military. So it wouldn't hurt to have another expert on our team. Because we are severely lacking in all efforts.
Well, I will create a school that people wish to pay for my time in teaching. I could take on students and train them in the infamous ways of the Warthrone family.
That would be most beneficial.
I just need something of like an estate, if you would, Your Highness.
Well, as you can clearly see from the outside of this keep, well, soon to be keep at some point, there is not much of an estate to be had. Most of it is open land. Though, I can definitely decree a section of land to be yours, and from there you can build something.
I would appreciate that, Your Highness. So she kind of like grins and bows her head.
That brings up another problem, Raiden, that we were trying to discuss. The Graveborn, although yes, they do need to eat food every once in a while, not nearly as much as other humanoids upon this plane of existence. We don't have a lot of means for trade. We can grow crops all year round in pristine condition, but we lack the ability to transport it.
Yes.
So we need to
We
find
have some carriages, but not enough. Oh, sorry.
we need to find other means of revenue as well as better means of transportation, and we could do that with magic. But currently, I think you are the only one capable of that task. So we were considering taking a trek to Collinsburg to see if we could requisition some airships.
Oh.
Yes, I meant to gift y'all with a form of teleportation before you had left, but I had not been able to do so. I might have to work on that during this, well, whenever I have downtime.
Well,
You've got. Oh, go ahead.
also, Your Highness, your wall you were mentioning and that I've seen. I thought I saw a bunch of triads and a few druids popping out of that little mysterious forest you have over there. Are they part of the village? Is that their wall, or it was Troxy, this Troxy person, the only person able to make a wall?
Well, as far as I know.
Well,
Sorry, that was directed to you. Please go ahead.
well, the Emerald Grove was made by the Archdruid Troxy, but she is passed at this current moment, and her reincarnation has not been acquired, or shouldn't say acquired, found yet. So the druids are doing their best to make more tree ants and do what they can to defend this town. But without her guidance, they lack the power or experience to perform greater acts than that.
Huh. Well, what about all of these graveborns just standing around? I mean, they could put them to some labor work and do some man-made structures connecting with it.
That's a good idea, but we lack in masons. I believe in my notes there's a good bit of agricultural farmers. I don't believe there's any blacksmiths, or if there are, there's a small handful. No magic like enchanters. So we're basically only have carpenters, agriculture, and like a small handful of niche things.
And
Well,
oh, sorry. I was also just going to step in real quick. On a meta level, I mean, I think it's nice to have the conversation to hash it out. But on a meta level, as far as constructing things, because of the small amount of resources / people you have to do things, it's definitely possible to get her building built or whatever. It just takes away how much longer the time would be for the actual keep to be built.
Actually, and if you don't mind, DM, I had a quest for you, or a favor to ask. Since you believe we are lacking in transportation for our only, well, sellable good at the time, while you're out there, if you could find extra labor, that would be most beneficial. The town does have Graveborn, but we also lack in manpower. I mean, a kingdom is not built in over 6 months. It will probably take an extra couple thousand hands of labor to get these walls and fortifications done. So if you find any stone masons or builder type guilds out there, and you're able to strike up a deal, that would be most beneficial. And I'll try to cut a deal of gold for your party.
let me ask you something, Your Highness. I am hides away with words. If I were to find said masons and carpenters and so on and so forth, would there be somewhat of a general bonus of income for helping provide these?
But
I'll do
like I
that.
just said, I don't mind sharing some of the kingdom's income with the party since you've, well, even with my help, saved Winshire, but also helped fortify its agricultural and defenses. In doing this, hopefully our agricultural goods can be sold across, well, many kingdoms, and with the income from that, I could hopefully get some of it to the party. Of course, with all this help, you're helping the kingdom save money, so why not help you get some? Now, an art. Are you? I know you're an artificer. Would you be wearing any trinkets or gadgets on your person that would show him that you are one?
Yeah, it's her leather waistband. Her leather
Mhm.
waistband. It actually has different types of vials, and there's actually like a small artificer like toolkit that's like wrapped and like hanging off of her belt.
Hmm. You look like you know your way around tinkering and the art of artificery. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Indeed, you are, Your Highness. I am more of a alchemist, but and she squeezes her right hand. I've also tinkered with mechanical parts.
Hmm. Do you make weapons?
Hmm. Kind of walks over to you as she starts to undo her glove, her big leather glove, and she slides it off, and you'll see that from her elbow down is a robotic prosthetic hand and forearm. And on the inside, she actually has a artificer dagger that basically comes out of the
Hmm.
palm, and she basically does this as the blade comes out. I've dabbled with hidden weaponry and spare parts.
Well,
Does your finger look like that, Cassandra?
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, basically,
I'm just kidding.
um, well, I should clarify. Again, we have a military force being made here, though it is quite small at the time. And as it has clearly been established, the Graveborn don't really reproduce. So our income of population is zilch. So we could use more people here. That's another thing we should work on. But we also need to fortify our defenses. Cannons, crossbows, that sort of thing. I myself am a pretty masterful artificer, but I am very busy and I cannot take up such a task. If you are willing to help me in this, not only would you gain a noble position in my court, but I will see that I help you in any endeavors I can.
my question is, Your Highness. I mean, pish posh. What's the deal to persuade people to come here? What are you offering them that their current location does not already take care of?
Well, one, our agricultural goods are in so much surplus that our worthy selling prices, if they lived here, should be cheaper, I would hope, than their current standards.
If
Also,
we
we have plenty of land available, as you clearly can see, so people love
Lots
land.
of new opportunity. You know, shit's
A
cheap.
lot of new opportunity.
It's like
Yeah,
moving to
we
the
lack a
Midwest.
lot of goods here. Any magic item sellers or merchants or any of that, I feel might have a gold tooth for coming here to sell their goods in a place of such opportunity.
interesting. Okay, okay. And if we find specialists, are you gonna give them their own building or
I'll give them their own land and help fund projects, but that's the most I can do, as most buildings are dilapidated or being rebuilt.
But like I said, there is no merchant guild here, and there's no encroaching merchant guilds coming here. So the opportunity to capitalize an enterprise is should be an enticing offer to anybody.
She curtsies and takes her step back.
Um. So, do you guys want to go to Collinsburg? Is that what we've decided?
I think that's where we're heading.
Okay.
There is a couple of things I'd like to do here before we go, but I think that's the plan.
Okay. So why don't we do that? Is there anything you guys would like to do before going out on the road again?
I got two things, but other people can go first.
We'll just go in the order of Discord. Cursebringer Mhox.
Box would spend some time with Teddy. Probably get a good kind of like run around the city and that type of stuff in, and then kind of get caught up on where we're at with the actual castle itself, as far as building. Outside of that, there's probably not a whole lot for Mox at the moment. Then just relaxing, assuming we're leaving the next day.
So we'll I'll point out like a new crane has just recently been built. That is now it stands like we'll say the castle wall or the keep walls itself are maybe 7 or 8 feet tall. Some of the masonry has been done, but like a lot of it's just like the the wood sort of like beams and whatnot. But you can see this crane is like maybe 50 feet tall. So with this new implement, things are going to be able to sort of move much more efficiently along. But Teddy seems to very much enjoy your company, and at this point has become very like when he's walking next to you, it's very like militant looking almost. There's like like the legs are very straight as he walks, but yeah. I don't know when you guys are going to be leaving, but technically right now it's like maybe 9 o'clock in the morning. So you've got the whole day ahead of your guys ahead of yourselves. But moving on, we'll go over to Cassandra.
After Cassandra basically walks out of her moving wagon, she just took a fresh hot bath, hair's all done. She's wearing a very fancy-ish dress, not like her best fancy, but it's common fancy.
Okay.
And she's gonna walk over to her squire to have a conversation with him.
Okay, what
Richard?
was his name again? Richard, that's right.
Richard Batchenfield.
Richard Battenfield. Cool. As you approach, he is in the middle of peeling an apple like very perfectly, not to remove any bit of the flesh. As you approach, he just finishes and begins. He just offers part of it to you.
She smiles as she picks it up and just smells it a little bit. I do miss eating these, so she just throws it to the side.
Oh, sorry, I forgot. I didn't want that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm good. You know, this place isn't bad. Except for as he like kind of looks around. It's interesting. It's a new place, and he just takes a rather large bite of his apple. And I don't know. Are we staying here now?
I believe so, and I think I think we will be reopening my father's academy here.
That's excellent. Wow.
Now, I want you to be a big part of it, Richard. And I'm gonna need your help while I'm busy helping these people, so we can have a foundation again and honor my family.
Most certainly. What can I do?
Come with me, Richard. And she's gonna walk into her wagon and be like, make sure you close the door.
He walks up behind you and closes the door.
Richard, I'm looking to use this estate and this academy to find suitable candidates for a new type of order.
So, how do you mean?
Well, with me being the vampiric paladin of the Raven Queen, and me also being immortal, as I am a vampire, I thought, what if I made an order of highly trained men that are all vampires who serve and protect?
It certainly seems lofty, but I think it sounds doable.
I would want you to be my right hand in this organization, Richard.
He kind of like doesn't say anything, but he cocks an eyebrow at you, not sure if you're implying anything.
I'm looking to find knights who would protect the realms for eternity, Richard. And I'd want you to one day be their leader.
But I'm just a man.
Now you're just a man. And she kind of walks and like uses her hands to kind of, like make that example. But I could make you more.
And you watch like with your sort of vampiric sense, you can feel like his heartbeat just like race a little bit, and like the surge of like that aortic valve just like makes your mouth water. You know what I mean? But he just looks over to you. I would be honored, and he just like gives you a very like short, quick bow of the head.
Richard, you have honored me. You went looking for me and you found me. And you've helped me get to this path. You, just like your father, your family, to the Warthrone family.
And I will do so until the end of time. And he gives you another bow.
Tonight we will start the process. Eat your favorite food. Sleep with whoever you wish to sleep with while you still feel warm. And she puts her hand on his left side of his shoulder and just gives a small, firm squeeze of respect as she's gonna walk out and try to find Fia.
What you don't see as you leave the trailer, the camera just sort of like pans around Richard's face, and you just see like a intense nervous sweat go down his forehead as he like kind of like widely gazes to the floor below and kind of looks back up and then leaves. Okay, well, we'll say we'll move to Fia as and just go into her turn. Fia,
Yep.
Right before you decide to go and do anything, you notice Cassandra come up to you as you leave the keep.
Hey, Cassandra, what's up?
Fia, darling, how are you?
Oh, just glad to be back after such the long walk.
I know my poor feet are killing me, Fia. And I hope that I didn't inconvenience you too much on the trip. She kind of like gently pokes your arm with her tip of her nail.
Oh no, you weren't bothersome at all.
I'm glad. I I guess I wanted to. She kind of, coughs to her hand. I guess I just wanted to say I apologize for not being forthwith with you.
Yeah, I appreciate the apology. I do wish you would have told me from the beginning. I understand why you hid it though, and I'm glad you ultimately kind of told everybody, and it doesn't have to be a secret anymore.
Yes, I guess, I don't know. It's hard to just find a long family friend they haven't seen in forever and be like, hi, how's the kids? I'm a monster, but besides that, life is great. It doesn't usually easily slides in like that. But I do appreciate the welcoming. Maybe not tonight. But maybe during our travels I could give you a more information about what happened to my family and me. But just you and me.
Yeah, I'd like that. I'd like to know a little bit more, and especially if we're gonna go after him eventually, it'd be good to know the history.
Yes, and we can paint our nails and braid our hair, and it'll be great. We'll have like a little girls' night.
Yes, with all the gossip.
Darling, I love the tea being spilled all the time.
Precisely.
Where were you heading? Is it a more of a go by yourself, or do you mind if I stroll with you?
Yeah, you can come with me. I was just gonna go get my dog Mindy, and I was just kind of gonna relax for the night and take it easy. So just
Oh,
going on a stroll with the dog. You can come around. Usually we run into Mox and Teddy on our way. We kind of walk opposite directions around the outside of the wall, it seems. So
that Mox guy, he seems intriguing. I need to have a word with him at some point. Well, carry on, toodaloo. I'll follow you.
Okay, Fia. Other than getting with Mindy, what would you like to do? Or is that all? Would you like to just walk around and work with her?
that's all she'll do. And then she's taken a liking to the reading now. It's become less of a how she's testing herself and more of something that she's realized she's enjoyed. And she goes back. Well, actually, she's gonna go find Engless or one of Engless's spiders and ask them to build her a little hammock web, and that's where she's gonna read her book for the night.
Oh God, yeah. Jeffrey, you find Jeffrey currently being mauled by like hundreds of little tiny spiders all over her body. It is, for someone who does not, like me, who does not appreciate spiders, something quite horrific. But as you approach, Jeffrey's like, all right, get off of me. And she kind of squirts some web out of her ass out of frustration, and you just hear as they all kind of like crawl off her body and just turn into like a black rug on the ground. Um, but as you ask her for a web hammock, she is very quick to say yes. She seems very eager to get away from the baby spiders, and even though the moment is brief, she makes you a hammock in between two trees that will be able to sit you comfortably.
Okay, and so that's where I go, and Mindy's with me, and we can say like if Cassandra's still wanting to hang out, we'll have them build her a web too.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe
Cassandra-
we'll. Go ahead,
Cassandra-
sorry.
No, you're okay. I said the Canner sees the web that you're about to lay on and goes, "Oh, I mean, I like creatures of the night, just not being in their web." But
Yeah,
you know what?
I forgot.
Hey, you know what? You do you, darling. I have been eyeing this emerald forest for quite some time. I think I'll just take a nice night stroll. Enjoy your bug.
Thank you. Have a nice little stroll.
Oh, I will. She just like disappears into the woods.
So, I will say this: Winshire is like a good, like almost 12 miles from the actual forest line. Like Winshire is kind of in the middle of a field, so if you can go to the woods, it's not necessarily super realistic, but you could definitely find like a private space outside of like the dome. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, she was just thinking about going into the emerald forest that's across from the dome.
Right. Like what? And that's what I'm saying. It's like 12 plus miles away.
Oh
It's not-
shit! It is. Oh.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's not like right. It's not like necessarily next door neighbors. It's kind of like I'll have to pull up the map. Yeah.
Oh no, she'll go.
We'll
she'll
say
go.
we'll say you can definitely find some lowly trees close by. It's just not going to be a forest.
Oh no, you're good. She'll probably just head back to her wagon then, just to get ready for the night.
Okay. So, because of the narrative so far, we'll just say you all are leaving for Collinsburg tomorrow because of like how things are rolling. I technically skipped Throg, so before Endless, I'll have him go. Uh, Clarissa, we're just like saying what we're doing today in this small amount of downtime before you go on a trek back up to Collinsburg. But take it away, Throg.
Mm, Throg never really had any plans to do anything in Winshire, so there's nothing necessarily he wanted to buy or anybody he wanted to talk to. But he actually strolls around the city for a while. Uh, he thought about going to the fighting ring that he's a champion of, but he eventually kind of decided on having some alone time, and he actually hasn't, been thinking about his life and kind of how it's been going for a while. So I actually find like a little open field kind of spot outside of Winshire, not far out, but enough he has some alone time. And he'll just kind of lay in the grass and focus on like the breeze as it rushes by on his skin, and he'll just kind of think about all that's happened meeting this group and honestly with his life. And I think it's at this point it kind of hits him a little harder, being a Greyborn and realizing he never really sleeps anymore, and missing the sensation of that in a way, before thinking of home and how he'll never really be able to go back there. And for a time, he might kind of cry to himself, but eventually he'll just kind of lay there, and I'm gonna say he'll use some druid craft to just make bird noises.
Okay. Um, as you start making like bird calls, eventually overhead you see a bird that had been responding to your call from some distance away, but it swoops above your head like 20 or 30 feet above um, the ground, and it's quite nice. It's like this brown and white bird with like a large white tail feather. Before it just gets completely caught up by a large predatorial bird. It's like twice the size, and you just like watch as it like kind of poofs into some feathers, and after witnessing this active nature before you, eventually that large white tail feather I described earlier kind of lands right on your chest.
Yeah, he'll pick it up and look at it. Hmm, always a bigger bird or fish, whatever the saying was.
Great.
Yeah, that's all he'll really do.
That's perfect. Um, Here, hold on, let me just read this real quick. I'm gonna take, sorry, just a quick little break. We'll come back with Zafriel's day in Winshire. I just gotta take out my dogs real quick. Okay then. We'll bring it right back in. The camera.
I
just
had
like,
a
yes.
I had a question if I could RP as Raiden, with a few members. If not, it's fine. I just threw it out there.
Well, I will say no, just because
Okay.
I don't want the line to be totally blurred in between. You know, I kind of like
Gotcha.
you talking for him and whatnot, but outside of that, you know, he's definitely a resource for sure. But I just don't want it to just, you know, have him be so accessible because he's kind of busy or whatever the fuck.
Gotcha.
Okay, so Zafriel, what would you like to do in this day in Winshire?
First off, Zephyril's gonna go to the clinic.
Oh, perfect. As you start walking over, in the 6 months amount of time, a lot of the efforts, like I mentioned before, have been towards the building up the keep within the town. However, there have been enough side amount of time to get a significant amount of infrastructure built for the infirmary. There's a whole new wing. It's half the size of the left wing, but it's like another like 20 by 20 excuse me 10 by 20 foot room that can be used for whatever. But yeah, currently lock and key are mostly recovered. Like they technically could probably just be let out of the infirmary, but they're just playing it safe. And there are a lot of free hands right now, not a lot of sick or hurt people at the moment. So all the nurses or whatever you call them are kind of just doing busy work.
Before he interacts with anybody, he's gonna go wash his hands.
Good old surgeon way. Do the whole like this thing.
Yeah, wash all the way up to the elbow. Like,
And then walk around like this, you know, because you don't want to touch anything.
yeah. As soon as he's all like sanitized and whatnot, he'll go walk up to the nurse staff and the clinicians that are on on the clock, so to speak.
Okay. They kind of see you approaching and like the way I like to think about this is like you're not necessarily known for your healing prowess. Like you definitely are a surgeon, but like as far as healing is concerned, that's not necessarily your specialty. However, you are kind of looked at as like the father of the infirmary, if you know what I mean. If that's like the right like phrase to use, but like there's like a certain amount of respect that they have when they look at you, and I can't remember your question. Sorry.
I just said that I approach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and they just kind of stop what they're doing, and they all kind of just like acknowledge you, and one offers a polite bow.
Sorry, I've spent so much time away of late. But it looks like that was not a problem.
Yeah, it turns out all your nurses are also Graveborn. Turns out, like, when you are undead, there's not a lot of things that, you know, require fixing outside of reattaching someone's jaw.
Well, to be honest, that's not something I considered when opening this clinic, but as far as things to not be completely necessary, I'm glad that this is one of the places.
You know, that's a strange perspective, but like, I can I can totally agree.
One of the things that I would like you guys to do in your free time, and there's no due date, there's no anything like that. I want to expand your training, especially hearing that taking care of normal ailments and wounds are not super necessary now. I want you all to train in plastics. I want you to be able to reconstruct someone's face if it's mauled or if it's been damaged in such a way. I want you to be able to train to take unimportant parts of skin to reconstruct other parts of bodies.
As a DM, this is fucking cool. Cool, Tucker. You're going to try and create plastic surgery in the world of D&D. Reconstructive surgery, I should say.
Now, this is something that I've tried to do, and you can see some of my amateur work on Null. When he was transformed into a Graveborn before we actually knew what that was, I had to do a lot of things to repair the damage to his body. And I took detailed notes in a journal I keep in my room. I'll have that delivered so you all can study from what I've learned, but if you could expand on my research, I feel like that would be a relatively helpful practice that we could offer.
Of course. I mean, I think we could use our time better by learning. So, I'll go now. And he'll excuse himself as the three other staff kind of look at you. And one of them says, "Well, I can guarantee you that we can, at least get to the level where we could deal with a major injury. Might need some time, but that's okay."
Yeah, I'm not expecting this to be done in over a year's time. This is still something I would consider myself to be quite amateur at. It's just something that I don't believe exists in this plane of existence. If that's a service that we can provide, it would be not only helpful to this town, but to the entire plane.
Think of all the people we could help. And they'd seem more determined than ever. On a meta level, we'll say that, as far as, research and, practically applied skills, we'll say maybe you'll be able to, reconstruct minor injuries after, we'll say 4 months of study. Actually, we'll just do 6, and then after a full year of whatever research and whatnot, we'll say you can do major injuries or whatever.
I do have 2 other things before I'm going to have to leave for another extended trip. I would like non-disclosure here. If you all can keep this within yourselves, I would greatly appreciate it. We've acquired a friend that could use some assistance that we can provide. I only had 1 IV tube I could use, and we don't have any sanitized bags, at least in my traveling set. If this is something that we can scrounge together before I leave, I would greatly appreciate it.
There should be a few supplies we can hand you. They kind of start going through different drawers and cabinets, and we'll say they're able to muster an additional 2 IV bags and basic medical supplies.
While we're in Collinsburg, I'll see if we can acquire some more supplies if needed. If you could provide me with a requisition list, I'll see what I can grab. But now for the second item, a lock and key. Are they just on bed rest at the moment?
They all look over to both of them. Yes, and they seem to be making almost a full recovery, but I don't know. They seem like they don't want to leave. I don't know. I don't know. We can't necessarily get to them a lot of the time, so I don't know. They seem coherent, but
I'll have a discussion. if there's anyone who is not interested in reconstructive surgery and improving that skill, a lot of the people that we bring in here are going to have some elements of the mind. Having some kind of therapeutic service, even if that requires you having your own office. I'd like it if you all could do some studying on that as well, if you'd prefer not to go into plastics.
We can divvy up the responsibilities of research, and as they gesture over to the right side of the building, they have just built a new wing, and maybe that's where we could provide such services. I don't know. Just brainstorming.
I'm in the same boat. We're just in a very quickly, we're going to need to come up with services to become more profitable to this territory. So, if you can come up with any other ideas, please let me know, but I'll leave you with that information for now, and I'll go speak with Lock and Key. So I'll give a nod of the head to each of them and walk over to Lock and Key.
They both look up at you almost in unison, in a very creepy twin sort of way, you know. Locke sort of like pipes up. Oh, hey, Zafril. How's it going?
It's going okay. We, believe it or not, we just traveled to the Nine Hills and returned unscathed.
T just kind of looks up. T seems a little bit more. They both seem like pretty like exhausted. But T seems a little bit more emotionally distressed at the current time, and she just kind of looks up at you. Oh my God! You went to the Nine Hells?
Yeah, you could say that Endless had some demons in his past that we had to take care of.
Wow. I mean, I know we all have demons, but he has one literally.
You know, I didn't ever think of it like that, but that's actually pretty funny.
They both seem a little too like put out to even muster up a laugh, so they just kind of look at you blankly.
You know, once you're off of bed rest and you feel that you can walk around, I just want to let you know that you're not tied here. We have things that you can do to occupy your time. You can stay here as residents and as citizens. I just want you to know that you're not trapped here.
Locke is the one who speaks up, and he says, "Well, I kind of figured we're here because Gravebones is here."
I understand. If you need some things to occupy your time to get your mind off of things, Hendrickson is training new recruits. If you even wanted to watch, or if you wanted to hone your skills, you're more than welcome. I just know that sitting in the bed all day can eat away at the mind.
They just both silently nod and kind of go back to looking at each other.
You guys will be good. I have faith in you. And I, without nodding or anything, I just get up and walk out the room.
Okay.
Sorry, I know that took a minute. I
Oh, that's fine.
talked about more than what I thought about.
That's okay.
And then the rest of the time, I would just like to go find Knowledge Rin. I'll whistle up into the sky, and I'll just take him for an aerial patrol around the town.
Okay. Yeah, you'll like dive in and out of the dome at times. The widest sweep you make is maybe like a 5-mile radius. But the Fia did want to do one more thing. But Endless, you can go first if you'd like.
So correct me if I'm wrong. Currently, we are in Winshire, correct?
Yes. So the plan is tomorrow y'all be traveling towards Collinsburg, which is I funnily enough, you know how you guys just came from the Zilnex Hills and it took you like a week and a half to get to Winshire? You guys
Yeah.
are going back up towards the Zilnex Hills and even further past that. So it's just funny that like you decide to go to Collinsburg when you get back to Winshire, and it's just funny.
No rest for the weary.
But Anglus, since we're in Winshire, would want to check on or check in with Jeffrey and see how the spider colony is coming.
Oh, that's funny because I think while you were gone, I had made reference to this. Um, Jeffrey has made her nest outside of the city, though most of the denizens may not be, you know, too off put by a bunch of spiders on the account that they're undead creatures. More for her children's sake, has found a more private spot outside of the dome. Uh, and yes,
Oh, but Troxy told Jeffrey that she could make her children's home inside the Emerald Forest.
sure. But for the sake of brevity, there's
Oh,
a
no, that's
second
fine.
nest.
I just didn't know if you forgot.
I
Either way.
I did forget, but just because of how out of the way that is, it just for the same reason. We're going to say there's multiple nests because Jeffrey has been at it. I don't know how spiders work, but there's a lot of them, I guess. Um, anyways, you end up finding Jeffrey, and she is actually in the middle of dangling upside down from one of the latticed logs that go into the shape of this dome over the city. As you approach, she says, "Shh, shh, shh, please, please, for the love of God, don't yell. Be very quiet."
Anglus kind of like, as he approaches, like leans in and whispers, like, "I thought they were in egg sacs. Can they still hear?"
Yeah, they are in egg sacs, dummy, but there's a lot of them that aren't. Oh, and she accidentally nudges her web, and you see like a disturbance under on the log, which at this point you thought was just a piece of bark, but it sort of like moves and orients itself, and you realize it's a huge like spot of tiny little baby Jeffreys. And some of them stir and start to go down the web before they kind of get caught up in themselves and kind of go back to sleep in a spidery sort of way, I guess.
Anglus has like the biggest ooh woo face going on. Like he thinks they are absolutely adorable, and he's so proud of Jeffrey. Says Jeffrey, how many are there right now?
I don't know. I stopped keeping track of after 1,000.
1,000, Jeffrey. And Jeffrey reaches up and, or Anglus reaches up and strokes Jeffrey cheek. Like, you have been a busy girl, haven't you?
Yeah, but I mean, not to be morbid, but 60% of my spawn aren't going to make it to adulthood, so, you know, more the merrier.
Jeffrey, how how long before you think they're ready to start performing tests?
Oh, I mean, we're talking like months, maybe even a year or two tops. Because they gotta mature, and you gotta teach them what's right and wrong, and like you don't bite other spiders and whatever. I don't know, spider stuff.
Well, I know the younglings may not be as sentient as you, but I hope that you'll be able to accomplish that. And I hope I'm not asking too much of you, but I do hope that you intend to at least pass on the teachings that I've given you, and you know your fighting ability, your listening ability, your ability to connect with me, and just when we're working together, we just flow. Hopefully, they will be able to grasp onto that concept as well.
Can you give me a piece of your clothing? I think I have an idea.
And he's like, well, absolutely. And he just kind of like bends down and tears off a piece of his tunic.
And with one of her spider-like legs, grabs the piece of fabric. I will use this to let them smell it, I guess. Maybe that will work. I don't know. I've never tried this before.
Well, I've trained you well, Jeffrey, and you've been the best companion. If there's anybody that I have faith in more than myself, it would be you.
You just see all of Jeffrey's 8 eyes like anime, like build up with tears and just like glisten as they look at you.
And is that I just wanted to come check on you. I know that you were pretty used to being with me all the time, so I don't want you to ever think that I've forgotten you, that I've replaced you. You've been my truest and dearest friend, and you will always be my number one for as long as you live.
Wow, Endless. I will say, in maybe like a month, I should be able to go out. And when that happens, will you promise to take me somewhere so I could kill something with you?
Oh, absolutely.
There's like a sigh of relief from Jeffrey. Well, it's time. And she starts pulling herself back up from her web. I got some spider stuff to do. It's as much as you like spiders, you probably don't want to see this part. She kind of like rushes you out.
Engless will then turn and leave and find his way to Xehtom and just spend the rest of his time working with her, going over just like practices and
Different maneuvers and
whatnot.
stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Fia, what was that thing you'd like to do?
I remembered when Tucker went to the clinic, but I wanted to check on grave bones.
Okay. Great. You find her. She is currently trying to build her own house because of the current, like, unavailability of like people to build stuff. She's taken it upon herself. It's pretty shabby, but there are 4 standing walls that are connected with a door that's currently being put on hinges. The door is slightly smaller than the threshold itself, but hey. As you come over, she looks at you. Oh, hey. She puts the door back down and leans it up against the frame. She looks over to you and sort of like licks her paw like a cat and like wipes off her forehead. So, hey, it's I heard you went to hell.
Yeah, we did, and it was a journey. Somehow we made it back just fine. It was pretty scary there for some moments, but here we are, all in one piece.
Wow. Well, did you get me anything?
No, I didn't even think to grab anything down there. I was too scared.
Too scared. I just, and she just like, oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter. What are you up to now? What are you doing?
Well, tomorrow we're heading off to Collinsburg. We're gonna try and start figuring out some trading potentially. And I was coming to see if you wanted to come potentially now that you're feeling better, but it looks like you might be on a project right now, so I don't know.
Nope. And she kicks the door and it just falls over. She's like, I'm so done with this. I need a fucking break. Actually, I was actually, I would love to go. Yes. When are you leaving?
We're leaving in the morning. I think at like 9 a.m. or something.
Okay. I'll meet you up at the front.
Yeah, we'll probably have breakfast before you go. Before we go, if you want to meet, if you want breakfast, we'll probably meet an hour before to have breakfast.
Never been much of a bacon and eggs person.
Yeah, I figured you'd say as much.
She gives you some finger guns and pretends to go back to work. You know what I mean?
That's great. And that was it. I wasn't in on Zafriel's conversation, so I thought about mentioning Lock and Key to her, but we'll just see if that comes up before we leave.
Okay. All right. And with that, we're going to close the evening as the camera starts to pan throughout Winshire in sort of a serpentine kind of fashion as it slowly finds the wagon of which is owned by Cassandra, and it kind of fades into the vehicle with Cassandra herself and Richard kind of looking nervously at you.
Richard, are you positive that you're okay with this?
Of course.
Just know I would never use my authority of you being my spawn to make you do anything against your will.
He just kind of like darts his eye to the corner of his face and quickly makes eye contact once again. I'd be lying if I didn't say I was nervous, but I am ready. I have thought this day may come. I didn't realize it would be this soon. But go for it.
I don't know, she just smiles at him and goes, I understand the nervousness. When it was me, it was very, very much more brutal and savage. With you, I plan on making it as smooth and as peaceful as I can for you.
With that being said, is it going to hurt?
Only for a moment. And when I drink most of your blood, and that, she kind of like smiles a little bit as she's kind of visioning it. And then that just last moment of Sophia, I will give you a drop of mine.
He, once again, looks nervous as he sort of corrects his posture and tastefully unbuttons 3 or 4 buttons off of his shirt and kind of like reveals his neck as he kind of like looks at you a little wide-eyed.
She kind of laughs at the gesture. That's cute. That's very cute, Richard. Now she goes to the bed and she slides the top bed open as it shows the cylinder-sized coffin, like inside of the bed itself is a coffin with that Richard
Sure.
would sleep on top.
Sure.
And she kind of goes down where now she's like a little chest deep in. As she kind of lays down, she's like, come on in and lay your head on my.
Whether or not this was a power play or not, it has affected him deeply. Totally, foregoing his expectations, and he sort of like bumbles into the space with you, and does as you say.
She picks him up right there as she gently puts her fingers through his hair before she gently grabs. She's like, just take a deep breath and it will be over faster than you think. And she goes in for a gentle but a very quick bite as she begins to start drinking all of his blood.
You can hear him like try to take a breath, but the sudden, though gentle, excruciating pain of the fangs entering his neck. You can just see him like instinctually try to like reach up, but he fights his like human instinct to sort of like there's this like hesitation Before long, his whole body just starts to feel this cold numbness, and a few minutes later, the ritual is definitely complete.
Yeah, she lets go, seeing him barely on between the line of life and death, and she uses her own vein and just punctures, and then just gently puts her wrist above his mouth to let the blood flow in before she tucks him in for the night and closes the lid, as she'll sleep on the top bed for the night.
You can just see like his eyes kind of have this sort of glazed over a look, as they kind of like he's disoriented as you close the lid, and minimal amounts of sound are made by him this evening. With that being said, we'll say the group was able to meet for breakfast in the morning, and we'll get ourselves in a position of you guys getting on the road outside of the city itself proper. At the moment, with the combinedness of the wagon, Noladrin, and Xehtom, the whole party can either be on a mount or in the wagon as far as this is traveling is concerned. So we'll say it will knock 24 instead of 24 miles a day down to 12 miles a day. With that being said,
I would like Hendrickson to come on this journey.
that's beautiful.
And he's just going to mount up with me on Noladrin.
Okay.
Who will ride with Cassandra and her wagon?
Gravebones and Fia, if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Mhox. Right? Is that everybody?
Throg.
Technically, I think Throg is big enough to ride in the wagon.
He'll walk.
Maybe you might have to walk.
He can sit on top of it.
Yeah, I was about to say he could sit on top.
Could he get on top of Ictoma's butt?
Yeah,
You
Mox
know,
would either
I-
walk or
He
sit in the.
does-
Oh, sorry.
He weighs over 1,000 pounds or around that, so he'll walk.
Oh, yeah, let's not squish my
Oh,
Ictoma.
Actually, you know what? I just realized, Endless, you have God damn it, Saffron's original wagon that she made before the mobile home.
I do.
So you could take that way. Everyone could be on wheels. If you guys want a big thing like that, whatever. Great.
The leader should definitely be in that wagon. It's only right.
Okay, so
Yeah, we can take the wagon. I still want Ictome to come, but
Oh, she
and
can-
then-
oh yeah, I'm only mentioning that because of Mox and Throg.
Ictome will take a perch up on top of the wagon, like on top of the roof of it.
Sure.
Cassandra would ask Greybone or Fia if they'd be willing to drive the wagon since it's broad daylight.
Yeah, I'll drive the wagon.
Thanks, darling.
Hey, what happened to what's his butt? What's his name?
Oh, he's. She kind of, just by habit, a very kind of almost sinister smile. He's currently sleeping as she pats the bed while she's wearing like a very big robe. She's just wearing a robe.
Are you trying to hide the truth that you're changing him, or are you making it obvious by that he's not really sleeping?
You can roll an insight check, and then you can decide the.
She's not hiding it.
Oh, okay, never mind. Okay.
Oh, so sleeping, huh?
Yes, sleeping. He had a long night and a change of career fields.
That's a way to put it.
Interesting. I'm assuming he was willing, right?
Yeah, of course. First of all, if he wasn't, I don't think it would be appropriate to have my forced fawn hiding in the wagon around you guys all hearing. I took some poor soul and forced him onto a life of a monstrosity. Come, Thea. Come.
I figured. I was just making sure because we know Zafriel's gonna ask.
Oh.
Uh,
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. It's fine. As she slides open this little slider that's above her so the sun kind of comes in, and it actually hits you right in the face, Fia. Plus, we can talk through here while I relax on my bed and you relax on the comfy seat out there.
sure, relax if that's what you wanted to call it. I guess it's probably laid back.
She's got like 2 pillows that are like her arms are wrapped around. She's just wearing a robe with her feet kicked out. She's like, it'll be fun.
Okay, great. Grave Bones, do you want to stay back here or do you want to sit up front with me?
She kind of like looks over at Cassandra. No offense, but I'll probably hop up front.
That's fair. She just smiles with her vampire teeth. That's it.
Yeah, you see her 9 lives flash before her eyes.
She just does that weird like top.
Right, and she ends it. She goes in the front.
Could I have a conversation with Hendrickson during the travel?
Yeah, I was actually just about to say real quick. I just did the math. So on foot, Collinsburg is a 17-day travel, but because of your mount traveling, caravan line, you'll get there in about 8.5 days of uninterrupted travel. Yeah, if you want to have a conversation with Hendrickson during that time, feel free. Anybody else as well? I know it's hard to work on projects per se on the road, but no pressure. But you have some downtime before we get to Collinsburg if you want to talk or whatever.
At some point, I want to do a tutoring lesson with Frog.
Sure. We'll have Zafriel off the bat, and then we'll go over to Sandra.
You did.
Yeah. Knowledgerin takes a plummet dive from getting an aerial view from a very high altitude, just plummets down to glide right above the wagon. Hendrickson, it's you've really only had the opportunity to ride Knowledgerin a handful of times.
Yes, this is exhilarating. As you can see him firmly grasping the side of Knowledgerin.
Well, so not only did it give you a break from all the training, I did have a specific purpose for you coming on this journey.
Really? Why?
Before I left, you were promoted to a full knight of court. And as such, tradition within our knighthood. You, Hendrickson, you need a squire.
Oh, me? And he lets go of one hand to gesture towards himself. At which point, Knowledgerin has to make a quick maneuver because of whatever wind pattern, and he kind of quickly grasps the side of him once more. Are you sure I'm ready for something like that? I just became a knight.
Well, I mean, if you're not, that's fully up to your decision. But it's what happened to me. And though I did have some learning opportunities of my own, I feel I did you right.
Make a persuasion check.
14?
He kind of sits there and thinks to himself, I won't try to dismiss the growth I've had underneath your servitude. And it is quite tempting to give that experience to someone else. Who knows? Maybe it is. Maybe I am ready.
Well, think of it like this, Hendrickson. You've been ready enough to train an entire militia. This is just a more personalized version.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, yeah, you've got a point. I doubt this. I doubt this.
Speaking of things that you have, do you want to take the reins?
Do you think Knowledgerin will be okay with that?
Well, there's a maneuver I've been wanting to practice with Knowledgerin, so having you at the helm would make me more comfortable.
Okay. And he kind of like flies onto the ground so you guys can sort of switch positions.
Zafriel puts one hand on Hendrickson's shoulder and just sits on both of the balls of his feet, waiting to take off.
Oh shit! Like Aragorn, whatever. What is it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Aradon.
Aragon, yes.
So once we get back up to a decent level of altitude, I just give a mental command to Knowledgerin. I want to do some aerial maneuvers. If I am to be knocked off your back during battle, I want to be able to get back on.
Oh, so you're like gonna have him like go in a loop and like you let go, see if he can like catch you or whatever?
I'm gonna start spinning my hammer, and I give a mental command of like a countdown from 3, and I'm gonna shoot off like the lightning bolt,
Okay.
like forward to then land immediately back onto Knowledgerin's back.
Sure. Go ahead and make a mount check, I guess.
What would you consider that?
Base that off dex, I suppose.
Animal handling?
Would you say I'm proficient?
Or animal handling. Yeah, animal handling. Let's do that instead.
Okay. That's a 16. I'm not proficient.
16. You know what? You might need to work on it a little bit more. Like you and Knowledgerin have formed a bond, which allows you to fly rather tactfully. However, you're not necessarily a pro by any means. He is able to catch you. However, it's a little bit of a rough landing on the tailbone, so to speak. But definitely proves to be able to be fast enough to catch you at least.
Zafriel lets out like a super loud booming whoop, and like just shoves his hammer in the air as you hear like a crack of lightning in the sky, and he just praises Knowledgerin by the scratch on the side of the neck.
Yeah, he'll do like a little barrel roll twist in gratitudinous whatever.
And then Zafriel will just kind of sit side saddle, folding his arms, and just let Hendrickson take the wheel.
Okay.
Yeah, Zafriel completely unafraid of the height. It
Sure.
just, yeah,
like you're too comfortable.
yeah. Zafriel knows the skies.
Right. Cassandra, you wanted to talk to Throg over the course of the journey?
Yes. I guess I like. Basically, she's gonna be like sitting. When the door opens, he weighs 1,000 pounds, right?
I don't remember how much Throg weighs.
A little over that.
I guess it'd probably wait till we camp out for the night is when when our caravan, becomes a circle and we're all camping
Right.
in the middle of it.
Right.
She'll start to kind of go over their old tutoring lessons.
Okay. What's the main focus for tonight's lesson before I ask for a roll?
I think the purpose tonight is I think we are gonna work on the alphabet.
Okay. Okay. Um, Throg, as you sit down with Cassandra, she like pulls out like some sort of like flashcards or some shit, and begins to quiz you on your knowledge of the alphabet. I need you to make an intelligence check for me, please.
And she's in a completely different outfit from before. Now it's like very much like a teacher outfit with like flails.
Okay, sure.
And it shows too much curve. Like it's
Right.
very form fitting.
Your
kinda like
hair
a
is in
French-
like that 1950s type
15.
of bun.
Just think of a your French teacher.
Sure. 15. You know what, Throg? You know, maybe it's your consistency or your goddamn dedication, but you now are able to recite the alphabet up to the letter P. And you made big strides today because the whole element of
Yeah, I
part's really
was
fun
just
to
gonna
say.
say that.
Hell
Wow.
yeah. Mhm.
Yes.
What?
Look.
Oh, I thought you said Throg.
Oh, I was, but I didn't want to cut you off, so I was just gonna let you go first.
No, you're good.
She just like closes the book and goes, Frog, look at your progress. And it's our first time catching up. See, I knew you were smarter than you thought you were.
Yeah, Throg feel pretty smart.
You should, Frog. You know what you should do? You should be so proud that you should go to your new leader, Engless, and show him how many times you can say the alphabet all the way to P, just like you did today.
I'll think about that.
You do think about it, Frog. Good.
And with that, the journey.
Yeah, and Throg will act like no.
No, go for it.
Throg is just gonna act like he's gonna do that, but then we'll just kind of trail off.
Yeah, you've had enough like smart stuff today.
Yeah.
As the journey continues, does anybody else want their chance to spout out here? If not, we can move on.
Just for the rest of the journey, I just want to keep practicing aerial maneuvers.
Okay.
That's about it.
Will we have another chance like this? I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. I did want to have a conversation with Engless and Fia.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay, I just wanted.
Let me make sure real quick.
Well, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, Endless, Fia, or Mhox, did you guys want to do or say anything before we get to Collinsburg?
So, while we're traveling, while Engless is driving the cart, he's gonna have like his legs kind of propped up, like he's doing it so like lazily, like he's just super relaxed. But while we're going, he wants to attempt to like whittle a flute out of a stick that he just found. But please take note that he has absolutely no knowledge on how to do this.
How much experience do you have with woodworking in general, Endless?
Absolutely zero.
Okay, we'll see how this goes. Just make a survival check for me.
Hell yeah.
And because you literally know nothing, add a minus D4 to your roll.
Ooh, okay. So initial roll is 15 minus 11.
Okay, you know what? We'll say in the course of one evening, you're able to make the equivalent of a recorder.
Okay.
However, you tried to make too many holes for different pitches to the point where it didn't really work anymore, so you had to kind of cut it in half and kind of plunk it up at the bottom. So you have a little tiny,
like a piccolo.
It's like a piccolo, but it's like a recorder. It can play 5 or 6 different notes, 7 if you kind of count one, but it sounds very airy. definitely going to need more practice, but you technically made an instrument.
He's going to attempt to play Three Blind Mice on it, or like learn how to do Three Blind Mice the entire time that they're riding.
Make a performance check for me.
Watch him get like an at 20.
Nope, that's a 10.
You go like two, 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 two. It's like you know it's Three Blind Mice because you're trying to play it. But if someone were to come by, it would just sound like some sort of like small child playing with a whistle. So yeah, more practice will be needed for sure. So by the end of your week, we'll see how well you can play Three Blind Mice on your little piccolo you made.
Awesome.
Fia or Mox?
When I'm driving and Greatborns is with me, I'll have a conversation with her, just asking her how it's been since she's been better, because she's been in Winshire technically more than I have. So I'm going to use her as kind of like what it's like being a citizen in Winshire.
You know, it's actually kind of great. If you can kind of get past the zombies walking around. I guess I can't speak so badly, and she kind of like shows like the stars on her chest. She with the black rods that have finally been removed. But it's kind of nice. The community is very small right now, and everybody has a task, and it's kind of nice seeing so many people come together. Because like people like you and me, we tend to see the bad side of people, often being hired by them. So I don't know. I feel like it's a second chance in life.
Good. I'm glad you're liking it. Do you know? Have you spoken to Lock and Key? I feel like they're, I don't know, taking their time to recover in a way. I'm just wondering if they're doing okay.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I have talked to them, and they seem to be okay. I don't know. Maybe when we get back, we should kind of like have a more serious conversation with them about what's going on and why they're not wanting to leave.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like maybe that because we both know how it feels to give up the spy life. Maybe they are struggling with that.
Yeah. Well, how about you? I mean, you know, there for a minute we saw each other all the time, and now it seems that's not the case.
Yeah. You know, the journey to the Nine Hells seemed like a good idea until we got there, and then all of us were kind of like, "What are we doing?" So, yeah, you know, it's been an adventure. I'm glad to be doing something more on pace to, like I like having a task, but I'm glad to be on this realm, not a different plane. But yeah, other than that, it's been pretty good. You've met Cassandra. She's obviously very different now, but
Is
she's
she a vampire?
yes, and when I first met her and we were good friends, she wasn't one. So that's one of the main reasons she's changed. But I don't know, it's just been nice to have two of my old friends back and around.
Yeah, friends. And she like kind of like gives you a little bit of a smile with a head tilt.
And that's that for Grave Bones.
Okay.
And I'll just spend time like watching Zafriel practice his tricks and kind of watch what everyone's doing. At some point, I take note to the English is trying to play a certain song and ask him about it.
I was gonna ask if I'm playing loud enough that she would be able to hear it.
For sure, yeah. After a third night, you can't help yourself but finally ask Endless what he is playing.
Yeah. And then Angless, did you make that yourself? Like, since when are you doing things like this?
Well, to be quite honest, I was a little bored just sitting up here by my lonesome, which is, Xehtom. Like, I know, like, I'm pretty used to traveling with spiders, but ever since Jeffrey learned how to talk, and Xehtom is just,
A normal spider.
yeah, it's a little lonely up here. So I figured to ease that boredom, I should try something new. And first, I thought maybe I should try sculpting. And I said, no, I'm not autistic.
Oh my god!
God.
And then maybe
Jesus.
maybe I should try something more like brute, like a leader, and start making weaponry. And I said, no, I'm only gonna burn my hands off. So what can I possibly do where I'm not gonna hurt myself? And I picked up a stick and I started whittling away. And before I knew what I was doing, I was like, hey, this kind of looks like a little flute doodad, and maybe I could just serenade myself. So I've been sitting here playing the grand old tune, Three Blind Mice. I hope it sounds good from where you're at.
And now that you know the context, it clicks. But until then, it was like, what the fuck?
Now that you tell me English, I see it. I see it. But something needs work. I'm guessing it's the instrument. I'm sure you're very talented.
Yeah, it's not really to my liking. It's some things may seem a little, oh, what do you call it? Bloated? No, not bloated. The opposite of bloated. Like, you take
Flat.
something that it. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Is flat. And I'm not sure if maybe more holes would do it, or if I just need to scrap this, start all over, make a big one.
Well, we have a journey, so you might as well make a second prototype. Why not?
Right. Shoot for stars. Am I correct? Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
In fact, I will write when I make the next instrument. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna call it. It may be like he's gonna think. Essentially, he's thinking of like oboe, but he doesn't know how to say the name.
Sure.
I'll call it an ubu.
An ubu. Sure.
I'm not very musically inclined, so I can't say that I've ever heard of that, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist out there.
Well, it will.
With that, Mox, did you want to do anything?
Nothing too particular. Seeing as everybody else is kind of super relaxed, Mox would be the one person that, like, even though nothing has gone wrong on the trip, he's constantly kind of like, even though he's like working in his notebook, he's constantly looking up, spying around at the distance and everything. Even at, like, once we make camp and stuff, he's the one that's like constantly scanning the area. But the
Sounds
only
exhausting.
exactly.
He's Batman.
The only other thing he'd be working on is he'd be kind of like be working on like a little cabin design for back at Winshire. He's looking to kind of like make a man-made pond with a cabin kind of like on the pond with the
love it.
dock at some point when they get back to Winshire.
Cool. Sandra, you said you wanted to talk to Fia and Engless?
Yeah, to English and Fia. Maybe when we're all camped out.
Okay, we'll say this is on the latter half of the end of the trip. We'll say like day 6. Well, the evening hours of day 6.
Okay. Cassandra will kind of pop her head out, and does she see Fia or English first?
Yeah, well, we'll say coincidentally, to make it easy, this is one of the evenings Fia has decided to join Endless to sit and enjoy his musical instrument.
Oh, it's you two. Perfect. And oh my, by the Raven Queen's swiftness, are you trying to tune an instrument? Bless your
You-
heart, Inglis.
you at this point, DM, could English have like maybe found a bigger piece of wood to try to create the ubu?
You know what? Yes, and I'll just take in account of your prowess with woodworking and instruments and whatnot, and we'll say it's slightly better quality, I guess, as far as like range of notes that it can make. It sounds quite deep and hollow because of the large branch you used to make it, but it definitely has like a do 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 do, like a very like
like a baritone sound.
yeah, it's still considered like it's not quite a woodwind because you're not using a reed. It's more like a flute where you're blowing air directly into the instrument. But yeah,
And so, holding this long piece of wood that he has fashioned into an instrument, he looks at you, Cassandra. He's like, "Ah, instrument. This is one of my own design, and I call it the ubu. Let me play you a tune." And he attempts to play in the Hall of the Mountain King. Do 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 do.
This is her face. She's like, Inglis, darling, bless your heart. Come in here. And she just kind of turns around and goes into her. Oh, and you too, Fia, if you would.
I follow.
Yeah, and English will follow behind Fia, just kind of playing like do 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 do.
oh my gosh. Sooner or later, you are have your own private space within your wagon.
So yeah, she closes the latches and locks the door so that way just no one else can really hear.
Or
As she
escape.
kind of,
I'm just kidding.
As she kind of pushes the bed open to show Richard as she kind of goes down there and just cuts her wrist.
I also wanted to say, is it fair to say that for an undisclosed amount of time, he's going to be like in some sort of like vampire comatose state? Like,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
And when you guys do come in, you actually do see how well furbished it is and how it's actually like quite large. The bed that she's sleeping on or opening is like a circular bed that's coming from the back wall that has drapes and about 3 steps. It's basically 3 steps up in height. And there's even like a nice dinner table and a couch and like a small fireplace. That's also part of the kitchen. And right now she's you guys kind of see her open the bed and she kind of walks down and she kind of does this for you guys to come up closer while she's taking care of Richard and giving him some of her blood.
English gets uncomfortably close.
Inglis,
What?
I
I'm
hope
curious.
you see her like cut her. You guys see like her big vein on her arm, and she just cuts it open, and she just puts it on his mouth.
And like a baby suckling pig, like mostly like in a slight uncomfortable position. The smell of like the blood is enough for him to like kind of like go like a little crazy for a second before he gets enough of a little bit of a morsel and kind of relaxes back into a sleeping position.
She just brushes his hair. She's holding her arm above his mouth so some more blood goes in. And she looks again at Inglis being so close. I talked to Fia earlier, but I just wanted to apologize to you, Inglis, for not being so forthcoming of what I am.
And he looks at you, Cassandra, and he goes, "I don't care if you like girls."
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. She pats her head. Funny. I meant being a monster.
He goes, "Oh, trust me, you're not a monster. I've fought monsters. You're no monster.
And as you say that, her eyes get very serious as they almost look like ice daggers staring at you. No, Engless, I'm here to fill in the blanks so you guys understand my quest and understand who I am today.
Inglis looks at you intently.
Yes, I'm waiting. Fia says after looking at you for a moment.
She just smiles and winks. Was it 5 years ago now? 5 years ago. No, 6 years. She kind of takes a deep breath as she cleans Richard's mouth and, gets a blanket on him, makes sure his head's on a pillow. I was a day of my. Can you do a sadder, like a kind of a sadder type song, Elder? Me and Richard, he was just assigned to be my new butler. The previous one was his father. He was a very dear friend of mine who really influenced me growing up, as you guys have met him. Richard is his son. As his first day with me, we went shopping. And I don't know, something didn't seem right. We decided to just go back early. So it was the dawning of the sun as I saw how empty and eerie my family home was. No guards, no signs of a fight, just cold and empty. To be truthful, I wish the rest of the story would be like that, but what I found in the dear halls in the house of my mother and my father's monstrosity of body parts and displays of staff, the guards, Richard's dad. And in the middle of it were my parents. No blood, heads removed and on spikes in front of their bodies. Maybe some poem or some sick joke. That's what we came across, and my screams filled such a lonely place. But my chuckle, my dear friends, my scream was not the only thing that was there. There was a chuckle. It was him, the one who took everyone from me that night, laughing at me. Well, I did what anyone would sure do, as I would. I attacked him. I attacked him with all the rage and sadness in my heart, because it was overfilling. It was overfilling like a volcano. But he was too quick, too fast. I almost took his left eye, and that amused him. So he, as she pulls off her left glove, took my left arm. Now, he then took me hostage, in English. He took me hostage. And it wasn't for ransom. And she's twiddling her hands and kind of, she's kind of chipping at her own nails. It wasn't for money. It was just for show of power. Called me the last tier trophy of the Thorn family. He used me, and she actually starts to strip in front of you guys because she has no other way to show the damage. She even takes the left arm off, and what you guys see amongst her nude body is it's littered with vampire bite marks, just littered. I was his blood bag. his trophy for his dances and so on and so forth. 4 years I was in his castle. And during those times, I had to do something or I would have drove myself mad, which maybe that's what he wanted. Who knows? But one fateful night, he turned me. He turned me into the monster that killed my family. And I struggle with wanting to be that monster every day. But the one thing that strives is the values my parents taught me. And that I'm going to kill that motherfucker one way or another. And I need your help.
Man, I'm with you, and thanks for telling me. I'm sorry you went through all that, and I wish I could have been there to help you.
I'm glad you weren't.
And I definitely understand why you didn't tell us. But I also feel bad that you view yourself as a monster. I think vampires can be monsters, which is the version of the vampire that killed your family. But I think the vampire that you are, the one who tutors her friends and checks in on everybody, that's not a monster. You just have an ailment. So I hope one day you can come to see that, and maybe changing Richard and seeing a vampire and somebody that you care about, you can see that it's more than just a monster.
How much would I roughly know about vampires?
You've when you worked with the hunting guild uh, back in Berkeley, there were I mean, you were a hunting guild, but occasionally would get quests to take care of creatures of the night. So I'd say, like, in your experience, you've definitely tousled with two or three vampires back in the day. It's been a while though.
Sandra, I don't know much, but and I definitely wouldn't know what it would be like becoming what you are and having to live with the guilt of the things that you have done. But what makes you not a monster is you're not the thing that killed your family anymore. And from my understanding, there are times in an early vampire's life where it just can't be helped. I don't view you as a monster. I see you as stronger than that. I see you as somebody who has already conquered that monster. And because of that, I will gladly help you.
From Fia's comments to Inglis's comments, her jaw kind of just drops open as some blood tears kind of come down.
Metal.
Metal.
I was not expecting such. Part to which she like grabs her clothes and just starts trying to like flusteredly put her clothes on. I thank you. I still struggle with my demons. Still struggle with the thirst of wanting to eat everyone in this camp. Demons that I hate. And I'm glad that I can show there might be a possibility. And hopefully with the faith you two have in me and the faith of my Raven Queen, I can continue to beating my demons. Thank you.
Inglis will bow to you.
She bows back.
I'll let her clothe herself and give her a hug when she's like comfortable, and tell her again, like, thanks for trusting us. with telling us.
She gives you not an elegant hug, but like a really needed someone hug.
And I hug her back until she's ready to let go.
She smiles as she just wipes the bloody tears away. Well, I think hopefully we run into some bandits soon so I can just kill something and feel better. I appreciate you guys, thank you. I think I'm just gonna turn myself into the night for once with Richard. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Good night.
As you guys begin to exit to go off into your sections of the camp, we'll fast forward to the 8th day of travel, at which point you guys have ridden alongside the Meadoff Peaks and through the canyon where the Meadoff Peaks and Zilnet's Hills meet to traverse through Collinsburg Forest, which is, up until the last 10 years, been like you weren't able to travel through it. It was like too heavy of a wood for anybody to go fuck with. But since then has made a direct road that cuts straight through it to Collinsburg to make things easier for people coming and going. It's at which point, Mhox, since you've been extremely perceptive and sort of like on point, I'm going to have you roll a perception check for me. Could we get a little bit of a change of music?
Sure, what you want?
Maybe something a little more, I don't know.
They always say dice tell the story. That's a nat 20.
Oh my lord. Dude. Wow, that's fucking cool. This works. So, Mhox, as you are, I'll say you have chosen this day to walk, and we'll say you're a good 20 or so paces in front of the caravan that's traveling behind you. At the moment, you are, like I described, in a pretty thick wood. There is a little bit of a canopy here and there that will form like kind of over the road because of the nature of the trees. However, it's been mostly cleared, and just a little bit down the road, I'll say you notice that there is a human female, looks to be in leathers, kind of in a sort of like roughed up state, but not limping per se. And because of your natural 20ness, I'll give you a second to sort of like react or do whatever before the rest of the party might notice.
Everyone, we've got someone up ahead. I can't tell if she's been roughed up by someone else or she's just been walking, but be on guard.
What time of day is it?
It's about 11 o'clock, not quite noon.
She'll look through a slot.
You know what? I'll say that, like, though the trees have been cleared, there's enough cover here. You could probably be okay. It's probably safer in the mobile home now that I think about it. But Mhox, being about 20 feet ahead or so of the group, the caravan comes to a halt, and you can see Knowledge coming down from the skies into to the space before you. Next to you. As the figure begins to approach, mostly looking at the ground, every once in a while meeting up the glance, and there's a moment in time where you're maybe 15 feet apart, where this like realization comes upon her face. before you, you see a woman who is about of average height. Her build is quite, I wouldn't say totally muscular, but she has some oomph behind those muscles. Um, Her hair is, you could tell it was cut quite short at some point and has become about cheekbone length that sort of sits on the sides of her head. Um, and you are greeted. Her whole sort of like personality doesn't match with what you've known in the past. And before you, you see Marie. You will remember Marie to be connected to past party members and one that you've seen at least once or twice in your efforts to save Winshire, Mhox.
Zafriel will get off of Knowledgerin.
DM, this
And
would be
the,
Mox's first interaction with Marie.
What? No. Oh, I guess you haven't met Marie. I'm sorry.
Marie is uh
I,
Silent
I,
Marie.
I'm,
yeah,
I'm,
that's what
I'm
I
good
thought.
context wise as far as meta is concerned, but Mox doesn't know her.
You'll have to forgive me. I forgot. I
I'll
just
put I'll post a picture of my last picture of her in the chat.
the only difference being her hair is now grown out some. Like I said about to her cheekbones, and she's no longer wearing plate. She's wearing like typical leathers you might find an average person wearing.
Zafriel will carefully put Stormbreaker on the ground and walk cautiously forward.
Um, because I know Angless is the leader, but because Zafril has the history with her, I'm gonna follow Zafril's lead and um like follow Zafril, but not in an intimidating way, just like we're approaching her in a friendly manner.
Okay.
Cassandra will stick to the shadowy parts of the trees, uh, just being ready in case she has to fight somehow.
Okay.
Based on
Cassandra. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
based off of Zafriel's demeanor, Mox is gonna hang back, kind of like assessing the situation to because of how cautious Zafriel is. He's assuming there might be more to what's going on than just some random person in the fucking road.
Gotcha.
Cassandra, are
Yes.
you okay?
I am okay. I'm fine, Zephyriel. She's covered in enough shadows.
What were you going to say, Colton?
Nothing. Never mind. Sorry.
I'm also, as we're walking forward and I realize that Mox seems confused, I'm gonna send him a message, and
Okay.
just silently and say, we know her. She used to be not on our side, but she doesn't seem herself.
Zafriel, you now that most of the group has sort of approached, you can see a very nervous looking Marie as she looks up to you. Uh, I. You have no idea how much I needed you guys. I don't. I don't know what's going on. I. I don't feel right. I. I. I need. I needed to find you all, and here you are. And she seems very like, sort of like a little here and there. Something seems to be bothering her.
Listen, We're not going to attack you unless if provoked.
No, no, I don't want to fight. Um, I think I need help.
When's the last time you've eaten, Marie?
Um, earlier, I have rations.
Stay here for a moment. Zafriel's gonna walk back to the group and go next to the slit in the caravan.
Well, the group's kind of with you, so you just kind of call a team huddle, basically.
Oh, right, but like party members that can't go in the sun can be
Right.
a part of it,
Right,
you know?
Right. Marie just kind of like tries to correct her posture and kind of grabs her arm and lets down at the ground while she waits.
Listen. Marie almost caused us to lose Winshire, and she caused us many troubles along the way. But she's asking for help.
Well, I'm curious what happened to her that she's coming to ask for our help. I don't mind helping her, but my curiosity is getting the best of me.
My defenses are very much up. I can't say no to someone like this, at least without knowing the details. Endless?
Strikes me as scared. Maybe not in the best state. There's one thing that you have taught me, Zafriel. To do the right thing and offer that when the help is needed.
I understand. Marie, why don't you come join us for some lunch?
She kind of looks up, a little shocked, and it's her body language is very much communicating like relief and guilt simultaneously as she joins you for a little luncheon.
Cassandra will find a shadowy area to sit in to feel like she's kind of part of the group.
We'll
easy
say
enough.
we moved to a sorry, didn't
Yeah.
mean to cut you off. We'll say we moved to a spot that we all can get out and be in the shade.
Exactly, and I was just about to say, and that's not going to be hard because of how dense the wood is. So you can just literally pull off the road here and just go into the tree line, and you'll be good.
I'll ask her. Maria, I know you say you're fine. Your body language states otherwise. While we're talking, do you mind if I give you an examination?
Yeah, fine.
So Zafriel will just pull up, undo some of his wrist wraps, and then just start, pull out his surgical table and just start doing an examination.
Just go ahead and roll a medicine check for me.
25.
25? Oh yeah, that's just fine. She definitely appears to be experiencing some sort of lack of sleep due to the bags under her eyes. Everything about her seems responsive. She seems rather tired. From the way that her muscles are tensing, it gives you the impression that she may have been traveling for quite some time. But outside of that, she seems rather healthy. Mostly, whatever's ailing her, it's something from inside.
I'll conclude the checkup is, we pull out some rations or something for lunch. I don't know if we have anything really.
Yeah, that works.
You said
We'll say Sorry, Pia uses the rations to make sandwiches, so it feels like an actual lunch.
And not just like the MRE.
Awesome. Marie, you said that you've been looking for us. We've been kind of hard to find. Believe it or not, we've been in places in the last couple of months that you would not even believe.
Yes, I know. It's made things difficult, but I'm so relieved that I found you. It's
It's
just something about you guys. It draws me, and at first it was easy enough to ignore, but as time went on, especially serving in in the army and stuff, I just it became more and more difficult to ignore, and I haven't been feeling myself. I just feel, I don't know, something's missing, and it's ruining everything. It's ruined my career. It's I don't have anywhere to go, and I keep it started off as dreams of some bear, and the more and more I would have these dreams, I would come to understand that it wasn't just a bear, it was you guys, and I don't know. I don't know what's happening to me.
Can you describe, like, now, like, out of her plate armor and her, like, mannerisms, like, can you re-describe what she looks like?
So it, you know, especially with the stark haircut change from Saffron to Marie, that look combined with the plate armor of the Empire really like set a lot of like differences. Though they looked like similar people, looked they looked different enough that they could be two different people. However, it's in this point where that now that Marie's hair has started to grow out and she's just wearing leathers, it it almost just looks like Saffron. It's really like it's off-putting because it's still not Saffron, so there's like this uncanny valleyness to it.
Marie, I'm always willing to help someone in need. But you must understand my hesitation. You nearly ruined everything for us.
I know. I think I know what I need to do, though. And you can see that like chills kind of go down her body. Um, I need to find Saffron.
Excuse me?
I don't know who she is, but I can't stop thinking about her. And I just have this feeling once I find her, I'm going to be okay.
You see Zafriel completely taken aback. How? This is from your dreams? How do you know of Saffron?
Unknowingly, she is now realizing she may have touched a sensitive subject.
Engless at that moment puts a hand on your shoulder, Zafriel.
I apologize.
Marie looks over to you, Endless, now seeing you sort of as like the sort of like person who calms the waves. Now wanting to speak to you, she says, I keep having this dream where I land the most incredible shot with my bow, and you were there. I nearly almost hit you. It was I don't know. I'm starting to feel like the dreams I'm having aren't dreams, and I won't be able to know that until I find Saffron. Do you know where she is?
Kind of not necessarily ignoring the question, but deferring from it for just a second. Hey, English asks her, in this dream, were you shooting at me or at something near me?
It was right behind. It was behind you. Something about the hat with a feather.
English, English, his eyebrows perk up, and he says, "Go on. Can you explain this dream a little bit further?"
That's all I can remember. It really is just pieces, and I just feel so disjointed, incomplete.
English kind of cuts her off like right there, and like trying to be like quiet about it, but like not. But he's not. He leans over to Zafriel and kind of puts his hands up to try to loudly whisper in his ear. I think she's seeing dreams through her eyes.
Okay. If you are able to confirm one thing, I will believe you. Does the name Null ring a bell?
You are on mute.
You watch as she she shakes her head no, but her body language says otherwise as she kind of goes up to kind of clench her chest where her heart is.
To be honest with you, Marie, the reason why I was the leader of this group for as long as I was is because Saffron disappeared. I took the helm in her stead. We couldn't find her. We searched and searched and searched. And then all of a sudden, there was a plague of abominations that we had to deal with. Frankly, we haven't had the time to look for Saffron. I assumed her to be dead.
You watch her look very worried when you say dead.
I understand your predicament, and I believe you. But you're making me relive very hard times.
With a look of sorrow in her eyes, she just gives you a look, and whether it be a bit of glancing light that a ray makes through the leaves itself, but the way that she tilts her head to look at you looks just like Saffron, and it's again hard because she doesn't even realize, like she doesn't even realize.
Fia's gonna chime in and say, I never met Saffron. And maybe I'm saying the obvious here that everybody else has already discussed, but from the sketches I've seen of her, don't they look like the same person?
That's what's making this so difficult.
You just see Marie just kind of like instantly furrow her brow, like, what?
Aside from few subtle changes, even in your plate armor, it was uncanny. For a while, I genuinely thought that you had been corrupted by Eric's presence. I quickly dismissed that, because your attitude, your demeanor, and your aggression towards us made no sense. It was unwarranted. It was betrayal without even any accommodation. Every attempt that we tried to work with you met nothing but backlash, and it almost meant all of our lives. But to see your face without the armor. Hendrickson,
Hendrickson kind of pipes up. Marie, it is hard. You look just like her, and that's why this is so strange. And you just see. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you finish. You finish. I just put my hand up.
You just see Marie just kind of like. It's like it's as if like the universe gave you the answer, but it does not compute with any type of math or knowledge. It makes no sense, and so it's like this like bead of knowledge that she has. Like it just you can see like confusion and thoughts overlapping just by looking at her eyes. Go for it.
I know I'm an outsider, but I have read a lot of books in my time, and I am curious about something. Could we, I don't know, take a very long shot in the dark?
speak your mind.
Yes, please do.
You say that she uncannily looks like this Catherine, correct?
Yes.
What if, and this is just wild, trust me, what if they're the same person?
I've been thinking that the whole time, but I think it's just us outsiders. We didn't know Saffron.
I mean, does Saffron have
In-
any tattoos or scars?
I think I've heard of that before. One time I got hit really hard in the head, and the doctor said I had incontinence or anemia or something like that. Couldn't remember who I was for a good while.
Maybe it never wore off, Frog.
Throg, I think the term you're looking for is a constitution.
Oh, yes. He said my constitution was so bad from all the blows to my head that he's surprised I remember who I am anymore. But honestly, when I think back on my memory, I can't even remember anything. So maybe I still have a constitution.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. You stupid motherfucker.
Yeah, I only remember my home, but vaguely. So maybe she has a constitution. I feel bad for you. I feel you there.
Marie, just like understanding your level of intelligence, just like appreciates your addition to the conversation, and just says, yeah, maybe I just need to get better constitution, or get rid of it."
Mm.
So you found us, Marie. And you say your next step is to find Saffron. What do we do then?
I don't know, but I just have this feeling that I'll be whole, and I can't go on any longer. I can't. It's like a part of me is missing.
Zafriel, how spiritually attuned was this Saffron Is there a
Very.
potential that her spirit split due to some sort of trauma and created more than one entity?
The last memories that I have of any kind of mental ailment such as that, it was a very intense fight. The biggest group of abominations I have seen. I'm sorry for using that term, but that's what they were at the time.
It's okay.
The biggest group of abominations that I've seen up until the attack on Winshire. The only difference being, we were alone. We were in a meadow, and there was only 5 of us. We were searching and searching for Null. Saffron's love. They had recently been married. And we found Null turned into an abomination. He had set out to go scout out a town that we were nearby to look for more information in the middle of the night. We lost him. Only to find that he was leading the charge of these thousands of abominations. It took everything I had to restrain him. When we all escaped this onslaught with Null beaten within an inch of his life, chained to the side of our wagon, I had to perform a surgical procedure while Saffron had to deal with her demons by herself in her tavern, in the same caravan.
That's when he struck me. I think I remember that.
I was able to save Null's life, remove all the rods from Radagast, but she was never the same. Later, our tower was built. Fellowship of the Standing Bearer had been finally realized as an official group within Urim's empire. And then Saffron told me that I could lead the group where it needed to go, and she vanished.
Zephyriel.
He looks at you without saying anything.
I know these memories can be hard, darling. And I'm sorry you have to relive through them. But I think we're stumbling on the right path of figuring this out already. When you remember Saffron, does she have any scars? Or any tattoos? If we can at least prove that this person is, I guess, 2/3 of a Saffron, you might have a better idea of what we're looking for.
If I remember right, Fellowship of the Standing Bear logo was tattooed on Saffron, right?
No. But if you look at the PC art, she does have a.
I was gonna say, doesn't she have a scar on her face?
She has a scar on
She
her.
has a nose.
So yep, they have a
Yeah, she has
matching
a
nose
nose scar.
but she also has a tattoo on the left side of her head.
Yeah, it outside of the uncanny visage, it scar and all, it definitely at least this body looks just like Saffron.
Inglis has some questions for Marie. Marie, just to kind of rule some things out here, what was your life like growing up? Do you remember? Did you possibly have any siblings?
She just kind of sits there. Yes, I can remember most of my childhood. Really, the only time I have a hard time recalling is about a year and a half ago. Things got really weird, and because of how things were going for me, I thought it was best that I joined the army so I could have a direction in life. The time that she's talking about definitely correlates to when Saffron boinked out.
Marie,
Um,
I have another question for you.
Yes.
Since you're having these dreams and these feelings, if there's any kind of connection, do you think maybe touching something that came from Saffron would help?
At this point, I'm willing to do anything.
And Angus reaches down into his bag and then gets up and walks over to her and hands her the mask that Saffron made him.
Oh, to protect your face?
It's
Mhm.
kind of a Lecter mask.
Yes. Again, like her she kind of like grabs it, you know, unassumingly, and kind of her initial reaction is to say no, but she starts to giggle a little bit under her breath. Yeah, this was for your face, wasn't it? Of course it's a mask, but something's there. I don't think she remembers completely, but she recognizes it to a certain degree.
Is there anything else of Saffron's we might have? Hmm?
there was one thing that was given to me that I gave to Endless. It was not given to me from Saffron, but she was very aware of the process of when it was created and when it was given.
Meta-wise, I don't recall what that was.
The Holy Avenger.
Oh,
And the mobile home.
Meta-wise, she wasn't there when it was made,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right. Never mind, that happened after.
but we
That-
can
Yeah.
change the timeline. But that was
No.
That was like
Yeah, it
almost
was
immediately
after.
after.
She was freaking
That
the
was-
fuck out in the middle of a brothel or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was.
Yeah,
I'd say
this was after all that.
I'd say the only other thing is the mobile home. I don't know if there's anything else.
And all.
If he's there.
Yeah, no, Nal's back in. I think
Null's
Nal's in
not
Winshire.
there, but you
right.
can get him.
Well, yeah,
I-
if you go all the way back to Winshire.
Endless.
True.
I think we may have all the proof that we need. I would like to try one thing though, before I'm. And he tries to force the words out. Okay, with going along with this.
it says, of course, you have my support, and I trust you. I agree, I think we have all the proof that we need, but I understand there may be some things that just need to set your soul at ease.
I go up and kneel before Marie and put my hand over my symbol of cord tattooed on my chest. And just start glowing. And almost go into I would call it more of a mantra than a prayer. Meta-wise, I'm just going to be using Detect Good and Evil.
Oh.
But I would like to, like, in an RP sense, like, try to connect with Cord to ask for guidance on what to do.
Right, you sort of like ask this within yourself as you call upon his power to cast this spell. Like without your own control, your own hand is removed from Marie's shoulder and placed onto her head, as your head is like kind of tipped back, Avatar style, as you kind of glow for a minute, and she checks out. No blips on the bad radar there. Marie looks up to you. Look, I know you guys must be in the middle of something. So I understand if this isn't something you want to take care of right now. But as long as you're willing to let me travel with you, that should suffice.
You said you left the army. We're going to Collinsburg. Will that be a problem?
She kind of looks down, looks back up. It shouldn't be.
She could hide in my place if she needs to.
Zephyriel, the only thing I would be concerned with is if trauma is what sets this off. Inducing any sort of fight or flight mechanic could cause a switch again. If I had to guess, the Marie army persona is her defensive mechanism that goes into a cold, calculating sort of personality to defend itself from harm, whether that be emotional, physical, spiritual. It may not be an issue, but who knows what we're coming up against. Everybody that joined in this group to go to Collinsburg is capable of handling themselves.
That's a good point, Mhox.
Marie kind of like pipes up. I swear, I won't be a burden. I can be a capable fighter.
Endless, I need your final decision on this. I'm not in the right mind. He gives you a very serious glance.
With everything that we know, with what proof we've been given, can't just turn away.
I understand.
With that, the camera sort of kind of starts to pull out and swirl around the party as it phases through certain trunks that it needs to. You can see Marie take on a quite genuine smile as she looks upon the rest of the standing bear. And as the camera continues to pull out from the forest that you guys are traveling through, it bursts through the canopy, and you can see Collinsburg just outside of this forest. And the glorious amount of different airships that are in the airfield right now is absurd. And next time, we'll be picking up with the Fellowship of the Standing Bear, traveling with 2 new members in the group at Collinsburg.